Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of my hardcore Wait a second, do you guys hear that? Now what could that possibly be? Well, it looks like it's time for me to take to the sea. We have Pirate Captain Permafrost here, ready to get onto the ocean with some boats today. So if you've been around for a little bit of time in this series, you've probably heard me talk about my port village that I've been talking about pretty much since the beginning of the series, I think. It's been pretty early on, and this kind of bit of land here by my starter base in our huge kind of marking tree. Looks like I missed a bit of Christmas decoration taking down. I want to have a port village here, and for a port village, you need supplies, and the only way I think this port village is going to get those supplies is from incoming ships. Now, there is a little bit of a kind of theme breakage between my steampunk airships and the ships we're going to be building today, but I think that's fine. Having different zones in your world is always okay to have, doesn't need to always mesh perfectly. Maybe we could have some kind of barrier where this is a different civilization that only works with the steampunk vibe, and over here is more of like the kind of, I don't even know what kind of theme it is, because it's not quite pirates. We're not making pirate ships per se. It's more of, I guess it could be called more of like the Corsair era, so the privateering, so similar to pirates, but not the black flags with the skull and crossbones, which, I mean, would kind of suit me. Maybe we'll do one of those for a little bit of cheeky fun out in the outskirts one day. But today we're doing more of just like traveling and trading ships. So we got a couple of designs I've kind of built out and planned. So we're going to have to get to gathering the resources needed for them. And since we're doing these wooden boats, the only thing that makes sense is to use our brand new tree farm. So I got a stack of oak saplings and a stack of spruce saplings. So let's collect a little bit of wood for these boats. Alright, we got a decent start to the wood, mostly oak with a little bit of spruce. We're going to need a bit of dark oak, I think. I don't quite remember. Plus we're going to need plenty of sticks, so that's a good start. We'll probably be back here before the end of this build is done. I really need to fix up that door. But now it is time to be ready for accepting this whole ship into this area, because I don't think we want it just to be docking on the side of the land here. We want it a little bit ways out. Especially since some of this area under the water isn't quite deep enough. I know out there it's very shallow. Here it's a decent deepness, so we should be able to get our ship coming through without it scratching its bottom. But I think what we want to do first is build a nice dock so we can, well, obviously dock onto it, and then it'll be easier to get all the supplies off the ship and onto this land, ready to start building up this village. And that is kind of what we got Stovehearth started. The idea is coming into play. I kind of wanted to raise this up so it's mostly one level. I did a little bit of research, saw some photos, and this kind of like bearing wall that holds back the sea kind of looked really cool. So I went with the cobblestone and the stone, and then obviously the packed mud looks really cool. And then we started on the dock. We haven't finished it because I don't know how big I need this to be, because are we going to do just the one ship? Because I think the ship's going to go here, the big one we're doing today. But we might want a couple smaller ones in here, so I'm leaving it up to interpretation. We'll see, does this need to be longer? Will this go across further? We can ignore the village because that might be used later or might not. We'll have to see. And we kind of done a little bit, so the cobblestone goes pretty deep down. I don't know if I want to remove things like this stone or dirt and replace it with the cobble, or if I just want it to kind of mesh with the natural terrain that it's already kind of got in this area. We ran out of the dark oak, that is one thing, so I started using actually slabs. As you can see under here, I hid all the way underneath slabs just because you get a lot more for the amount of wood you actually have to gather, because dark oak is a pain to gather since this is 2x2 and it doesn't work in my wood factory. Thankfully we got the spruce, which is nice and easy, and I've also got to make all these pillars go all the way down to the bottom. That'll be when I figure out how I'm going to terrain the bottom, because I'm probably going to continue the terrain over from there, similar to over here. And we have to remove a bit of this greenery just so that we can actually get through and it doesn't get stuck in like all the boat bits and such. But now that we have the kind of shape and planning, we know where we're going to put the boat. It's going to go on that side. We might continue the dock further out slightly. We actually have to start building. So we have the wood we gathered. I think it's in that chest over there. We started off, got a decent chunk of it. We'll have to turn it into stairs and slabs and such. And then we also need a lot of fences, because you have that kind of like the climbing net that goes up, as well as we need a lot of wood. So let's go check on our, or not wood, wool. We need to go check on our wool supply. So unfortunately right now I've got these guys dyed the darker colors because I was using them for, what was I using these guys for? Black and dark gray. I have no idea what they were being used for, but we should have, yeah, we need the white wool. So let's check. Ooh, that's not looking good. We got a decent chunk of it. And none in here. What about these guys? No. Okay, so we might need to dye these guys back into white, the default, just so we can start gathering. And it looks like there's a bit of a loss here because it's not covered up properly, but that's not an issue. We got a decent chunk started. I think this might be enough. I don't actually know. We'll have to double check, but I think this is a good start for gathering all the wool we'll need for the kind of sails and such. You know, as the days go on in my hardcore world, these guys are showing up very often, because in the time lapse I had an entire raid party over there. These guys, looks like somehow the captain died and these guys aren't going for it, but I think I could maybe man my ship using these guys. So what we're going to do, we're going to set a little bit of a trap here. See if we can gather a bunch of these guys up. So what we're going to do is we're going to set a minefield of boats. I think that should be enough, and then we're going to trigger these guys so they start attacking us. There we go. And if we run past, if this works as I think it should, okay, slowly starting to get them in. There we go. A couple more. Just one more. There we go. Okay, so now these guys are trapped. So what we need to do is we need to separate them so that there's only a single, and then we need to make sure their bows break, because these guys have bows and not the axes. They only have a certain amount of durability on those crossbows, and once that runs out, then they can't shoot anymore, and they're basically harmless. So we might be able to station a crew onto our ship, and that might be kind of fun. Not sure how I'm going to keep them on the boat. Maybe just keep them in these guys, in the little Minecraft boats, and then I can kind of station them around, have one in the bird's nest. Bird's nest, is that what it's called? That's what I think it's called. I don't know, but we'll have to study our terminology and get that all right. So I think now it's time to start building. We have the area we want to put it, so it's going to go from here to, God, I don't even know how big it is right now because I don't have a scale really, but we have our nice little walk down. We can head down here and we can start building. So we have to clear out any of the greenery that's down below. Let's just do a quick little dive and check. All right, just a little bit of the greenery needs to be removed, so we'll remove it down to the roots so that this stuff isn't growing into the bottom of the ship, the hull. And I think that should be good enough. We have some visitors in these drowns, which are going to be a pain when doing the underwater part. But I think everything's good to go, and we should be able to start building. All right, so one more time lapse. This one's going to be a big one because we're going to do the ship maybe in one part, or maybe we'll split it into two pieces. One for the ship and then one for the sails. We'll see how it goes and see how long it's going to take me to build, because it is a massive ship, and I mean massive. It's nothing like these little dinky things. I think it's even bigger than my, here, let's grab the spyglass instead of the zoom mod. I think it's bigger than my actual airship from like the boat part, obviously not the blimp part, but I think the actual ship part is actually much larger. So let's get into that time lapse. And here we are, all built and complete with our sails all furled up. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but that's what I'm calling it. Everything going well, and I'm not sure if it's perfect because these they're like the rope thingies. I'm not sure if they're meant to go higher. This was just kind of from images I saw online that I kind of just took. And we've done a little bit more work on the dock, as you can see here, putting up some railings so we don't fall over into the water. And then you might have noticed we have a different colored gas now. No, I did not just switch out the saddles. A drowned with a spear got my gas. And since they basically make no noise when they're getting hit for some reason, unless I just had my audio off, I had no clue he was dying and could not fly away, so we lost one, had to take a break and hatch a new one. And then we've leveled him up to orange instead of yellow, so we have the distinction of a different ghast. I also brought over our conduit over here because of all the underwater bit. I didn't want to have to constantly come back up for air. It just made it easier to disassemble that from all the way over when I did the terrain and bring it over here to just help out all the underwater. Now we've got our gangplank, I think that's what it's called, all set in. I put a little bit of a notch here, like maybe that's where it kind of like hooks in and gets attached, and we head on up on the stairs and we're on to the ship. We've got a whole bunch of things, not a lot of detail quite yet. We'll probably add some stuff onto the deck here eventually, but we've got our 3 masts with our actual climbing one up here. We can head on up to the bird's nest. It's not bird's nest, lookout's nest. I need to know what this is called. I need to figure it out, but you can go all the way to the top here and we have a good view. It kind of goes in a little bit further and then all the way up to the top one here, using a bit of glow lichen so I didn't have to put a bunch of torches up here. You can see, just to keep these spawn proof, because creepers were raining down as I was finishing up the build and making it a pain to finish. But we have completed our first ship for this area and a great start to our port village. I'm planning on continuing this kind of edge wall around the area. I don't know how far I'm going to go, probably at least to this area. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue it all the way around, but I wanted this to kind of be the dock area where I'll have all like, maybe I'll put like a giant crane here that can be helped for making ships, or maybe this will be like an area where the ship comes here first before docking and the crane grabs huge crates and leaves them on the area here to be brought over to the village once that's kind of built. But I think it's time for us to go and gather our crew for this ship. So we're going to try something here. I'm not sure if it's going to work. I've already separated some of the guys over there. It took me a while with leads. I think one of them died from being shot by his friends. But we need to be careful and grab one out. I don't have a lead on me, so let's check our chests here. Okay, it looks like we don't have any. We're going to have to go grab a lead. And actually, here, let's see. I think maybe if we grab that guy there, we're going to drag him over there out of distance. And because we're in the same boat as him, once he attacks or starts shooting me, it doesn't actually shoot through. It like shoots through me or something. I don't know. Let's do just a quick little test. We've got to be quick. Make sure these guys don't see me or shoot out the guy. Yeah, that was the problem. I need to dodge and weave. Get out of here. Okay. We're behind the tree. So now we just have to wait because now the other guys can't hit us. We're out of their range, but this guy's just going to keep shooting. So if we sit here long enough, this guy's going to break his bow or crossbow, and then we'll have just basically a useless pillager, and we can set him onto the ship. So let's just give it a quick little wait. We're going to have to get out and sleep. I don't have my bed on me, but we're going to do that real quick and see how this goes. And there we go. I just missed him breaking it, but as you can see, this guy is now not doing any damage to me. I can walk all over him. I don't know if I want to let him out. He can kind of wander in here. This is kind of the captain's room. We'll quickly sleep. Oh, I guess he's not going to let me sleep anymore, so we'll take our bed out of here. It was kind of my safe area whilst this area was swarming with monsters. So we'll toss this out here, quickly sleep, and we'll give the final tour whilst kind of placing these guys in, because that took at least 10 minutes. I'll time it this time, now that I know it actually works. So I wasn't sure if they like maybe patched that or something. It just felt like forever. So I think it took like at least 10 minutes. It's been more than a day, so probably longer than that actually. But now we have this guy in here. I think I'll make him a nice desk and he can be our captain. I might be able to give him one of the flags and he might be able to carry that. But we still have a bunch more to go. So let's quickly just show up everything. So up here we have our rudimentary wheel. Can't really do too much. If this was a creative thing, I would use a bunch of display entities and stuff to make it cooler, but there's not too many ways of making a wheel in Minecraft. Everything's square. We have just a bunch of area. The back of the ship, I don't know what it's called. I know the bow is the front. Then we have starboard and something else. I need to do my pirate research, or I guess my ship research. We have a couple of stairways down. We got the front of the ship here, where you can kind of Titanic yourself a bit. Hopefully not do the crashing part. But we got our little kind of gateway. I've seen a lot of these. The kind of oak works really well with all these symmetrical holes. And then we go down into the galley, where, I guess, did I not even... Where did that staircase go? I could have sworn... Yeah, okay, I guess I just didn't put a staircase in. This could be, maybe go all the way down below, because we still have a bunch of stuff down here. This took forever to drain of water. I had to do a bunch of like lines of sand, because you can't just do it all in one, because it just refills on its own. It's a massive pain with the sponges, but I figured it out, and this was a massive mob spawning area that I managed to clear out after a long time. But we got plenty of space to kind of store a bunch of things. Not sure what to really put in here. Probably just going to decorate it with things like crafting tables and barrels and stuff like that. I can't really put too much, like I guess I could maybe, if I were to cut this off, I could just let the guys, all the pillagers, roam around on this ship on their own. And since they won't have any weapons, I can also kind of coexist with them. It's more of just making sure they can't get off, and this is kind of the only way off the ship. So maybe I'll put like a fence here temporarily, just to keep them on so it can feel more alive. And then I might have to give them all names, because currently in the boats, what's keeping them from despawning. And if I let them out of their boats, they might start despawning, so we'll have to get some name tags. I've also, might notice, I've started upgrading my storage to have a bunch of these guys. So we can have the Precious, which has a bunch of things. As you can see, I got a bunch of name tags, as well as a whole bunch of stuff that I might need, like my enchanted apples, extra totems, tools that I'm not using currently. And then I got my rockets, bit of extra wood, stone, like all these things. I'm not sure if they're useful now, but maybe down the road. Yeah, this is Silk Touch. They might be useful to just if I ever need to do small projects, because obviously when I'm doing something this big, a single shulker box is definitely not going to cut it. So let's quickly get the rest of these guys onto the ship, do their boring. I'll try and time it for you guys so you know if you ever want to do this yourself. It only works with the crossbow guys though. If they have an axe, they'll just kill you anyways, and I don't think it actually breaks. Plus, since I'm wearing a bunch of Thorns armor, they'd probably die first. So I got to figure out if these guys take healing potions or if they're like the undead. I think since they're not undead, they do take the healing potion. So I might do that because that guy took a couple hits whilst I was transporting him around. So let's get all these guys onto the ship and decorate a little bit. And maybe that'll be the end of today's episode. We might do some more ships if I have the time. If not, they can be kind of like an in-between thing. Maybe I do it on a live stream. And we can just have little smaller ships, because I have one designed for a small ship that I can kind of scatter around once I have things more planned out. So let's get this boring waiting part out of the way and get these guys all disarmed. And here we are on our populated and quite noisy ship with our sailors. So we've got a couple in there. You might have just saw I did a little bit where I got one up into the crow's nest. That's what it's called. Crow's nest, not bird's nest or whatever I called it before. Crow's nest, I think at least. And we got a couple sailors. I've had to kind of baby-proof the whole ship because any spot that they could jump off, they would, and then they'd try to run away, and it was a pain to get them back onto the boat. So I've actually done a little bit of a catalog of who's on the ships. We have 4 sailors, 1 quartermaster, and 1 captain. Our captain's here inside of his office. I've given him a flag and obviously named him different so we can distinguish. And he's got a nice little office in here. Not a lot of detailing right now. I don't really know how to detail this kind of stuff right now. I need to learn better detailing techniques. It's something I'm weak at. We also got a couple more, like this one guy down here. Let's head down into the galley. We've done a little bit of decorating with a bit of a bedroom barracks type thing in here with just a bunch of repeating bed, chiseled bookshelf, a table with some lighting just so I didn't have to spawn proof this perfectly. And then I even continued this staircase that I forgot to do earlier down into the basement, where I've kind of started putting some stuff like piles of barrels, just the functional blocks, some barrels or buckets that things may fit into eventually. And we have two more of our guys that seem to like it down here. We got a sailor, and I think this is our quartermaster. He should be upstairs, but I guess they just enjoy whatever they enjoy about down here. I think I would enjoy having more of these guys on here. So basically, anytime I see a raiding party now, they shall be commandeered for my boat. And so here we are. I've done a little bit more work. As you can see, I've gone a little bit further with the wall and expanded out. I think I did the mud in between the last couple clips. And we're going around. I think I'm going to stop somewhere around here, maybe just curve it off and then connect it and smooth into the land. Because up there will be the village. Here will be kind of like the receiving port area. So we might need to expand some stuff. Maybe we'll end up going up the hill a little bit. We'll see how that goes. But that's where we're going to end today's episode. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a like and subscribe for more episodes coming soon. Until next time.